Three men and a multiverse of sci-fi's finest spacecraft, but which ones can claim to be the greatest ships ever? Welcome to Space Doc Jury.
Welcome to episode 1 of Space Doc Jury.
Hooray! Episode 1. Woo!
We made it to it. Who thought we'd get this far?
Oh, I know. Why, it was only yesterday we were at episode 0.
Anyway, I'm Lee.
I'm Peter.
And I'm Andy.
Yes, and this podcast, in case you missed episode 0, is a podcast where we take a little geeky tour around all the spaceships in the multiverse, films, TV, books, media, you name it. We're going to size them all up, and we'll solve endless pub gripes and quizzes and arguments by setting spaceships.
Serious business.
Yep, absolutely. So what we'll do is we shall pick 3 at random, and then we shall size them up against each other, and only 2 will go through onto our cool wall.
Our hallowed top 10.
Yes. Hooray!
Angelic choirs and so forth.
Yes, exactly. So this week I am bringing the Fiery Phoenix from G-Force Battle of the Planets, a.k.a. the God Phoenix from Gatchaman.
And I'm bringing along a little thing called the Red Dwarf.
And I'm bringing the giant eye in the sky, the Odyssey from Ulysses 31.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's like that, is it? Okay, then.
So, just to recap the rules, as you can hear, we've all brought a spaceship to the table this week. The rules for inclusion on this in this contest is that every spaceship must be able to travel through interstellar distances from interplanetary, interstellar, between planets, between planetary bodies, not moons though.
Moons don't count.
No, planets to suns or planets to planets.
Sorry, Apollo. You know, you make it to Mars, you come talk to us. But until then, we're not interested.
Yeah, once the Orion turns up, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
And it must have a pilot of some description, not just piloting itself. Organic ships also count for this rule. They can, even though they're organic, they must have a pilot.
Yeah, something has to be at the driving seat.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's a space whale.
Exactly, and so we will be doing a little evaluation based on size, speed, firepower, which includes defense and offense, iconicness, which, if you were listening to episode 0, is also cool distinctiveness, but it's now all wrapped into one, and realization, which is basically how well they pulled the blooming thing off on screen.
Yes, these were developed over many complex pints of beer sort of thing, but it is a fluid system. This is still evolving, so it'll probably change by episode 2.
Yeah, the whole thing will be just wrapped up into I like it, 10 out of 10.
I thought it was already that.
Well, yeah, it's not far off. Normandy forever. Anyway, right, so who's going first with their ship?
On the basis that I lost last time, should I go first this time? Do you think?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is that a rule? Do we think?
Yeah, whoever lost last time goes first the next time. That's a good rule. I like that. Go on in, Pete. Bring us the Red Dwarf.
Okay. Well, just to explain a bit about the TV series, in case you've been living in a cave since 1988, Red Dwarf is a comedy series, sci-fi series, which is still going strong thanks to Dave. The only reason that Dave is worth watching, it has to be said. Every time there's a new series, I have to look it up to know what number channel it is so I can actually watch the bugger, but there we are. The show centres around the last surviving representative of the human race, a chicken soup vending machine repairman, Dave Lister, and also features a holographic reproduction of his dead bunkmate, although I lose track of whether he's still a hologram or not these days. I suspect they've kind of given up on that now. A creature evolved from the ship's cat, and from season 3, an android with a head shaped like a novelty condom. The ship's senile computer Holly also features on and off changing genders. Red Dwarf is... As you do, yes. The Red Dwarf itself is a deep space mining vessel belonging to the Jupiter Mining Corporation. And it's red, unsurprisingly. It's also bloody huge. I state this now, as I'm not expected to get anything on firepower, so size is where it's at, folks, today. It houses several ancillary vehicles, including Blue Midgets and the rather splendid Starbucks. And it has to be said the series has never cared much about continuity. The ship's original crew complement was given as 169, and then later 1,167, so just a slight difference, and that was by the 4th series. That said, most of the crew were clearly used for mining operations, as 2 humanoids, 1 mechanoid, a hologram, and a handful of scutters seemed to manage to keep the ship flying week to week, with Holly's help, of course. The ship doesn't feature in every season. There's a running thread through season 6 of the crew searching for their lost vessel when they forgot where they parked it. But it's fair to say I think the best seasons generally are the ones set on the Dwarf, particularly when it was a nicely crafted model rather than the rather ropey CGI whale that they had for a while.
It's gone back to a model now, hasn't it?
It has, yes. I see there's a picture up on Facebook today of the front, the big scoop. And it's a mighty big model it is too. Splendid stuff. The original model was produced by the late, great Peter Ragg, who also worked on various Super Marionation series, including Thunderbirds. And he had a stint on Doctor Who. And in terms of internal sets, the best ones tended to utilise studio gantries at BBC Television Centre. They also used a disused pumping station for the engine decks. Although the not so good sets are the ones clearly set in a Manchester studio built for a sitcom, but there you go, it is a sitcom. Particularly the first series where everything was grey.
Yes.
It's a big bugbear for the showmakers because for some reason the guy who's in charge of painting everything decided that everything would be grey, which does make the first season look rather dull, but there we are.
Yeah.
So in terms of in-universe stuff, it's still going, and amazingly, considering all it's gone through, we still discover new things about the ship as the series goes on, but as I say, because they don't care about continuity, you can't guarantee that whatever they discover about the ship will still be true in the next season, but there we are. Shall we rate this bugger?
Yeah, let's do it. So, what do you
think?
Size.
Okay, there's again a degree of inconsistency here, but generally it's described as being 6 miles long, 4 miles tall, and 3 miles wide, with over 2,500 decks.
I don't think any of us have got a leg to stand on here.
No.
Huge.
So what are you pitching that at then? Pete?
Well, it's not the Death Star size, is it?
No.
So we're looking at 8 or 9, depending on where we want to scale things for other ships, I guess.
Hold on, let me get the size of the Death Star.
Look, the Death Star's the size of a small moon. It's going to be bigger than 6 miles.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to just get a
we've got Super Star Destroyers, which are 17 kilometres long. They're probably going to occupy the 9 spot.
Yeah, so I think we're looking at 8 then, therefore.
I'd say if you go for something about an 8-ish sort of thing, I'd be more than happy to say yes.
Yeah, I'd go for an 8. The Superstar Destroyer is 5 kilometres long.
That's the debate we'll have when we get to the Superstar Destroyer one.
Yes, but we'll talk about that another time. But yes, just quick Google. So I'm just saying, yeah.
Well, if it's okay, because the Dwarf is 10 kilometres long.
Yeah, that's what.
So therefore, it should be a 9, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to have this discussion now. Then, very quickly, the Star Destroyers are the Superstar Destroyers. The big one, Vader's one, is actually 17 kilometres long. Right. What happened was someone published some effectively top trumps in the middle of the 90s and just pulled a figure out of their arse. But if you look at the bridge,
could never happen.
If you look at the bridge on the Superstar Destroyer, it's meant to be the same size as the bridge on the normal Star Destroyers, and that will give you a relative scale of 17 kilometres long.
Yeah,
a brief Google should reveal that.
I was going to say I've just delved into the Star Wars Wikipedia, and it actually lists it in several different sources from different books and a technical manual as actually 19 kilometres.
Bloody hell.
Well, there you go, you see. My point is, it's fucking huge.
So we need somewhere to go to, so we'll stick this one down as an 8, shall we?
I think 8's safe. I think you're safe with 8, definitely.
I think when you're getting above the kilometre, but you're below the 15, I think an 8 is what you're at.
Yeah, that sounds about fair. I mean, bloody hell. I mean, it's definitely bigger than anything we've had on this so far. So you're trailblazing, Pete. You're trail.
So then we're looking at speed. Now, this is an interesting one because you'd think, big fuck off, massive mining ship isn't going to go very fast, is it? I mean, it's certainly not very manoeuvrable. It takes a long while to turn. It's like your big tankers on the seas, basically. But 3 words: Holly-hop drive, which enabled it to travel at undreamt of speeds, requiring a stopping distance of several months, it has to be said. So effectively, we've got this developing this scale system, aren't we? Whereby if it does effectively hyperspace, which is what Holly-hop drive is, then we're looking at least a 6, aren't we, folks?
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Oh,
well played, sir. Well played. we were ready to give it a proper kicking at about a 1 or 2, I think. But
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I was sitting there working out. Yeah, it was going fast, but then it taken a run up of 3 billion years, if I remember correctly. So
that's right. Been gradually accelerating over thousands of years. So
Yeah,
it reached crazy speeds. But yes, then he invented the Holly-hop drive, and big red button though it is.
Okay, well. Yeah, it's not a gated drive like the Omega or anything like that. So I guess it is a natural hyperdrive. So yeah, Holly-hop drive gives you a 6. So I'm not going to argue that.
No.
God dear. Oh
no, this isn't looking good. This isn't looking good for us, damn it.
Except then we hit firepower.
Okay.
It doesn't have any.
No.
I don't think they ever use any weapons on it whatsoever because, it's a mining ship.
Yeah.
So probably looking at a 0 for this one, I suspect, sadly.
Yeah. No.
Well, I'll potentially throw you a bone here.
Yeah.
Do you want Starbug is ineligible for our thing because it's not interplanetary or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they are part of a standard complement of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
And are armed. So do we want to give him 1 because it carries armed support vehicles?
Oh, you're setting a dangerous precedent.
Well, I'm setting a precedent because at some point we're going to be doing battle stars and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And Star Destroyer. I mean, it's just I think they are part of a standard complement. The Starbugs are. They are armed, and I presume that the reason there is if they come across pirates or anything like that, they launch their little Starbugs to deal with it.
Well, if you want to give it a 1 for offense, then I'm more than happy for that.
It's just, like I said, it's just a 1, but I'm just saying it's not completely useless.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll go for
on the basis I was going for 0.
Yeah. No, I'll give it a 1.
You remember this, Peter? Remember this.
Yeah. Yeah. When we get to the ball with the thrusters, we'll remember this. And the other.
Having divided firepower and defence, now we look at defence, and on the basis it's still going, clearly it doesn't have any shields because we were talking 5+ if it had shields.
Yeah.
So I on the basis it's obviously sturdily built, it's got to survive mining operations, whatever that involves.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think we're looking at a 4.
See, now I'm going to step in here, right? Because can I ask a question?
Yes.
What was it that ended up killing the crew?
That was Rimmer.
That was a baffle plate, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't a piece of plating.
Well, that was only because fucking Arnold Rimmer didn't repair it properly. Any sane person would have done. So are we saying that stupidity of crew members now affects your defensive capabilities of your ship?
No, we can't do that.
Seems a tad unfair.
Yeah, it does seem a tad unfair. I mean, it's armored, but it's only armored to deal with rocks. It's
surviving space.
Yeah, and surviving in space. I don't think that's like taking. I would have said armor taking. A 4 armor would be.
It's
like,
robust, I'd say, but it's not armored as such, is it?
Yeah, I would have said it. I would have said
it's
a
like
1
a JCB. It's not really an armored vehicle, but it'll take a hit.
Pretty tough. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Tonka toy.
1 or 2s, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking a 2 to be generous. But
I mean, I'm happy to say it too because again, it's got asteroids embedded in the side of it where they kind of over the years have hit it, but it's not built with armor or anything. It's just again, it's designed to operate in an asteroid field. It's built to stand that like a JCB would. So
and as we've seen in the episodes, when it actually something does fire on it, it goes straight through that armor like without a problem.
Goes through bone
like
butter.
It's certainly not built for space battles or anything like that. So
No.
I guess, okay, 2 it is then. Boo.
You win some, you lose.
You lose, Sam. Yes.
Okay, so
Iconicness. Well, this will completely depend on how cool you think a deep space mining vessel is, basically. Mileage will vary on whether you think this could be cool. I certainly love the original model, and let's focus on that and not the crappy CGI recreations later on.
Yeah.
Andy's already mentioned the amazing addition of the impacted asteroid on the lower portion, which is splendid. It's got that big practical-looking mining scoop at the front, mighty engines at the back.
Yep.
It's probably quite recognisable to people, even if they're not particularly in the geek community, because of the fact that Red Dwarf has quite a wide appeal thanks to its comedy nature.
And it has Red Dwarf written in big red letters on the side.
White
Yeah, it's a giveaway, isn't it?
White
Yes.
letters. White letters. White letters.
No,
on
the
red background.
letters are red on a white background.
Red on a white background. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So, it's very distinctive. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going for a 7.
What do you think, Andy?
You know what? I'm inclined to give him that because it's part of my childhood. It's very iconic. But it's that short, stubby little ugly ship. The ugly ship that could. You know?
And bloody well did.
and I got to tell you, the Dave series with the new model, I love how it's harking back to it. It's a much more detailed and updated model.
Yeah.
And I actually think the proportions are slightly better on the new model, but it still captures that essence. I mean, I'd have been inclined to give it more, but you're losing points for that fucking CG abomination they use for the fucking season and a half.
Yeah, the thing that looks like a hexagonal cigar.
Yeah, I mean,
did they go back and redo some of the older episodes and stick that in them as well?
Yes, they did.
It's not on the DVDs.
Yeah, it's because wasn't this story that the nanites rebuilt it to its original plans, which were meant to be huge?
Yeah.
And that's why it had the prison deck. It was. I don't know what happened around.
Don't focus on continuity because that way leads to madness. Believe me, with Red Dwarf.
I wasn't focusing on continuity. I was focusing on standards, which seemed to have gone at that point. But fortunately, after that and the very, very bad Back to Earth, they seem to have gotten back on course.
Don't talk about Back to Earth.
Oh my
God
life,
Almighty!
Well on that.
Yeah, let's not dwell on that because that will cost you points. But
That will.
I'm
Well,
happy
I don't think it was in it, was it? Wasn't
Yeah.
it just the sets of Coronation Street? So
Yeah, amongst other things.
I'm happy to give you the 7 for iconicness.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Yeah, 7.
Thank you, chaps.
Yep. There you
And
go.
finally, realization. So again, sticking with the model, it doesn't have any problems with wires. This one,
No.
because they didn't use any.
You're somewhat stymied here because this is a product of the famed BBC broom cupboard,
Yeah.
which also gave us the classic Doctor Who, where being cheap and tacky was kind of part of the design.
Yeah.
It was meant to look shonky.
But it doesn't, though. I don't think.
Oh, some of the effects and stuff look pretty shonky, and it's part of the charm.
I mean, if you're talking, things like the Starbucks, which quite blatantly are, flown on wires and wobble around all over the place.
Yeah, the Starbucks.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah,
But
Starbucks
if we're
was score
focusing
low.
on the dwarf itself, because basically it doesn't do an awful lot. Literally, they just they fly the camera past.
Again, you do that, and then you zoom out from the bloke painting the red. And that's about it.
Yeah, which was lovely, I thought.
Oh yeah, it's really well done in that sense. Plus, again, me and Lee know Lee Stringer, another friend of ours, who's built the bigature for that section of the ship.
Yeah.
Where it's perfect representation, and the detail they've crammed into that one little section is just amazing.
Yeah.
The model work is top notch. I mean, I don't think it's as good as Thunderbirds, but again, I think that was by design.
But again, it's not doing as much as Thunderbirds, is it? I mean,
No.
why Thunderbirds score so highly is because, they make them fly, and they make them fly really well, don't they? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would definitely drop a mark off for the lack of a locatable bridge. You've got no idea where that is on the model, which is a big bugbear of mine.
Yeah.
Also, there were... I can't remember if it was the first or second season. I think it's the second season when Rimmer discovers that his dad's died, and some very shonky CGI effects to make it look like they're on some sort of observation post at the top.
Oh yeah.
Which was a very bad mold CSO job. So I'm looking at tops at an 8.
Because the only thing I will say, and this is just something that always bugged me about Red Dwarf, even when I watched it the first time, when it flies past and you see the engines and the engines are firing away, they are very quite clearly light bulbs.
Bright light. Yeah, that's true.
They are
That
Christmas lights quite
Yeah.
clearly jammed into a paper cone.
Yeah, that's fair, I think. Yeah. Okay, so it's down to a 7. It lands on 7.
Yeah.
I'd give you a 7 because the model work is, for what it is, again, BBC Broom Cupboard, which, shonky by design, but some of the best stuff they did was great.
Promise every time you mention the broom cupboard, I'm thinking of bloody Gordon the Gopher.
It was a different broom cupboard, I'm sure.
Oh, good.
But
Andy Peters trying to get out.
Yeah.
I think he's still in there, isn't he?
Yeah.
But like I said, you'd have had better chance arguing the 8 if it wasn't for that CG abomination. I'm taking a point off of that, so 7's where I'm at.
Bloody light bulbs in the engines. It's not thrusters. It's a light bulb.
It works for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. But that bit, that was your last shot of the ship every
Yeah.
time. It was like, oh, there's 5 light bulbs in a cardboard tube. Suddenly takes the scale away a little bit when you can actually read the serial numbers on the
You can't
light
read the wattage of the light bulb. Come on.
Yeah, go on in 7. I would have said 6, but 7. Go on.
Thank you kindly.
There you go. So, using the new and improved scoring, how
Oh, yes,
how
the
are we
new-
featuring there?
Well, I've got to put some more coal back into the supercomputer. If you bear with me for just a moment. Okay, let's
Can I smell burning?
Yeah,
carry the 4.
I can smell toast. I think I'm having a
I
stroke.
would see someone about that if I were you.
Yeah.
Okay, I might need to check my maths here, but I believe
Mm.
that gives us a total of 31.
31. Ooh, interesting.
That's the scores of the previous ships.
Well, that's
It's pretty comparable.
yeah. I mean, the thing we did was we separated cool and distinctive in the last episode,
Yeah.
but the weapons have then been split, so you still got the same amount of.
So
0
that's
to
one
10s.
more point I got for ex-bomber looking at that. Oh, bugger.
Well, you know, it was the weapons that let it down. To be honest.
Yeah, that was always going to be a problem with that one.
Oh, dear.
It's potentially something down the line we might have to look at. Putting big, powerful warships up against little shuttles. We might have to address at some point, but that's a future problem.
Yeah, that's the problem for future us.
Yes.
Fuck future us. We don't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that gives Red Dwarf a total of 31 points.
Nice.
We should give these points a name, don't you think? They shouldn't be points. It should be like cool points or space dot points or something. I don't know. It
Credits?
needs something science fiction-y.
Credits.
Quatloos.
Credits.
Quatloos.
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 Quatloo credits.
31 Quatloos.
Snot
Yeah.
bucks, or something. I don't know.
Oh, I'm going with Quatloos until we come up with something better. So you have 31 Quatloos, Peter.
Wow.
Makes no sense. That's
I
like
shall try not to spend them all at once.
it's like fucking traveller's
On a
checks.
dribble.
Oh god, just call them points. It's just gonna annoy me every time you say Quataloos, and then someone's gonna come up and go, "You pronounced that wrong," and then
Lee, let him do it just for this episode. Get it out of his system, and then forbid it from here on inwards.
No. We can't anger.
No, next time you've got to come up with a better one, Andy. That's a
Yeah.
challenge.
yeah,
Oh, that's the challenge. So for the next week,
So
I've got to come up better
yeah.
than Quatloos.
yes.
These
Okay.
will be live by the time we do the next one as well, which means we can put this out to the audience.
Ha ha ha. Okay.
Masochists that we are.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Okay, so Andy,
Oh yes.
time for you to go.
Time to queue up Space Jesus, the 4th BG.
Yeah.
Let's get on with some Ulysses 31.
Dun, dun,
And yes,
dun, dun,
you can all thank me for music now playing in the background, which is going to be in your head all week.
Hell yeah.
Actually, before we get going, I have to say this is definitely the battle of the best theme tunes this week.
Yeah,
It is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway,
I
carry.
think Ulysses wins on addiction value, definitely, because it just sticks in your brain, something terrible.
It's earworm, isn't it? It's in there.
Oh, pure
Although,
ear.
I'll tell you what, listening back to the cast last week, I loved when I was doing the bit with Thunderbird 3, and you get the music in the background. And I was just like, that's so cool. Yeah, if we had a thing for music, you'd have won hands down last week, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
A bit of Ulysses 31.
Okay, Ulysses 31, or Ulysses 31 in my terrible French accent.
Yep.
This was a French and Japanese manga. What is it, manga or anime? What's the correct nomenclature here?
I imagine it was anime.
Anime. So this was an anime. This was from 1981, and I know how much you two gents love this, but this is older than I am.
Minus
I'm just
5
keeping away
points.
any chance of me getting anything in that.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Nil point.
Nil point. So yes, 1981. This was a retelling of the classic Homer's Odyssey, the Iliad. Yes.
Not that Homer, yeah.
Wrong Homer. There's actually papers written about how it's not the wrong Homer, but anyway, we'll get onto that in just a second. This was a joint French and Japanese production sort of thing. Very deliberately, they kept Japanese sort of mechanical design and animation styles, but they gave all the characters very Western-looking features. It was modelled after classical Greek sculptures, much in keeping with the themes and all this sort of thing, and features, as mentioned before, Space Jesus, the fourth BG, in the title role of Ulysses.
What a beard.
What a beard! I mean, that deserves a point at least for the beard, right?
Has it got defensive capabilities, that beard?
I think it does. I really
It's
do.
defensive. It puts you off, believe me.
I'd make a joke at that point, but since all of us have beards, I shall not. Moving on.
Yeah, not beards like bloody Barry Gibb though. That's dear.
Yes, that's true. So yes, it obviously is heavily inspired by things such as 2001 and Star Wars, going so far as to, shall we say, borrow certain elements from Star Wars, lightsabers perhaps. Yeah. I mean, it literally rips off a lightsaber, TIE fighter sound effects, and I think they got in trouble at one point for ripping off bits of the score. But
yes, I was sat there listening to an episode.
yeah, it's
hang on. And what's better than a lightsaber or Han Solo's blaster? I'll tell you what, combine the two. Ooh.
That'll work.
Strange, if you watch Star Wars Rebels now, they've gone back to that. And you have a lightsaber with a blaster in it, yeah. Anyway, I shall read from the wiki, as I have found, and a little bit of information about the Odyssey, the main ship from Ulysses 31.
You're not going to mention the crappy robot then. Very wise.
It'll probably come up at some point, but if it comes up, it comes up. If we forget about it, yeah,
oh, no.
So, in keeping with the classical theme, the ship's unusual shape was inspired by the... I can't even pronounce that word, but we'll just say the eye, traditionally painted on ancient Greek sailing vessels. But far from being the case of form over function, it was actually a very well thought out design with an elliptical hull containing a garden to provide clean air and food for the crew. The photonic energy drive core was placed at the centre, well away from inhabited areas of the vessel. It had thrusters, lots and lots of thrusters, which allowed it to brake and to steer in quite a realistic manner. Not bad for a kid's show.
Well, it never seemed to bloody move in the cartoon.
I was going to say.
It does. It's whenever it moves, it's either just panning across the screen, or they do this really complicated spinning on a dime thing where it fires its thrusters, stops, and then it just spins around, and then tondles on back on its way again. But anyway, I apologise to all the French and Japanese listeners. I'm about to murder some pronunciations here, but whatever. Philippe Berchier, along with Philippe Andemorve, François Allot, and Bernard Duriez, created the original concept art for the show.
I fart in your general direction.
I blow my nose at your English big taps, you silly king. Studio Nui had the job of turning concept art for the final designs that could be used by animators. Now let's offend the Japanese people. Shingo Akari was responsible for the characters, and Shijoi Karamori was responsible for the mecha. And he later went on to be the principal animator for all the mechanical designs and robots and things for the Macross series. So Macross SDF1, the Valkyries and all this, he was the guy responsible for all those bits and pieces. His early designs show the ship powered by an energy bubble, which at some point evolved into the Iris. The energy relay masts on each side of the iris still remain from the bubble design. The eye shape is present in all of the designs, even when only used a small part of a larger structure, which suggests it was already a fixed component in the design when he started working on the project. I have some sizes here, which I'm assuming these are from the concept of it. It was 1,224 meters wide. No, sorry.
Go on.
1,224 meters width, 3,124, and height 2,005. So the first one is depth. I hadn't copied the first one. But yes, it's unusual for most of the ships where it is actually much wider than it is long. Broader, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is it's so big they need mobility scooters to travel around it.
They needed mobility scooters and like little, almost like the Futurama pneumatic tubes to get around on stuff. Yeah. Plus, he has that really fancy belt for kind of like just
the jet belt,
the jet belt and everything like this.
It's amazing his trousers never catch fire. Yeah.
This is, and I love the cape with a built-in little radio thing. I think partly inspired by 2001, the ship is operated by a computer called Shirka, which is capable of pretty much operating the ship when no one else is around. So it doesn't actually go mad at a point at all.
So little point of contention then.
Yeah.
It hasn't got a pilot.
It has a crew.
Yeah, but it hasn't got a pilot.
But it has a crew. And it has a pilot. The pilot's just asleep.
Yeah, so it doesn't have a pilot. It has a bunch of people in a ship that's just drifting by itself.
Well,
most of the
get
people
fucking lost. That's quite apt, don't you say?
Okay, I'm just picking up before.
I think we can probably assume, in Andy's defence, that some of the crew could have sat down and piloted this thing if needs be. The fact that actually for most of the series,
on numerous occasions, Ulysses does ask for manual control.
Oh, there you go.
Two little joysticks pop out, which then holds. It doesn't seem to do anything, but by holding it, the ship turns. So
is it?
Oh.
Yeah. Is it a Kempston joystick like the one that drives the Enterprise E?
I think it's the same sort. Well, actually, no. It's kind of cool. It's like a motorcycle. Handlebars pop out. But yes, it's much like the Enterprise E. It's computer, assume manual control, and like a joystick pops out.
A quick shot joystick from 1982.
Yeah. Stuck on auto fire.
The ship doesn't have any armaments, near as I can tell.
No.
Now, whether this is simply the case of it doesn't have anything or it's just there's no crew to operate them, I'm going to assume it doesn't have anything. It seems to be built as a ship of exploration. It's meant to go off long missions doing sciencey shit. It has numerous support craft. It's got that really funky little shuttle which splits into 3 separate bits.
That I was impressed with.
It's a cool little shuttle, that is. They have numerous ones because at least 3 of them get destroyed in the course of a series. So, for whatever reason they have these. Interesting fact, the ship can actually do a lot of self-repair. It has very complex auto-repair functions, and including an onboard foundry where it can actually remake an entire new glass iris when the one fitted to the ship was destroyed. So that's kind of cool. Lots of robots for doing all this sort of menial labour. Not that we're mentioning the annoying little red one. Although the firefighting robots were pretty cool. The kind of going and putting fires out and stuff. Had like little helmets shaped into their heads. I got nothing there, basically. But yes, I think... interesting note. You can see where the bridge is. And I know that's important to Peter. But you can see where the bridge is.
That gives you a point. Well done.
You got a good sense of scale to the ship, I thought, anyway. You had lots of little lines. They use the... And I'm not sure what the technical term is for this animation technique, but it was multiple layers of the ship. So what you'd have is the distance, the midground, and the foreground as separate cells, and they transition them across to give a sense of a ship.
Multi-planing.
There you go. That's the stuff, you see. Not just a pretty face, Lee.
Just as well, because that's long gone.
But anyway, so they had those. I mean, I think the animation style for the time was really well done. What they did as well, they had like a stock selection of shots of the Odyssey, which were very high detailed. And yes, they reused them multiple times, but they were very well done and high detailed. Interestingly enough, in the pilot episode, which you can find on YouTube if you look, the ship was originally meant to be CGI. One of the first uses of CG in an animated show at all. In fact, possibly in a TV show at all. But it proved very complex and costly and it looked shit fundamentally. So they resorted to a more traditional design with the look of a ship. But they still use some of the CG elements in the titles, the kind of 2001-esque glowy orby bits and the flying by the planets. That was CG, which was again quite early use of the art form. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about the Odyssey.
Okay.
So yes, gentlemen, have at you.
Right. Well, let's start with size. How big was it again?
Its width is 3,125 meters, height of 2,005 meters, depth of 1,224 meters.
So,
It's a hefty size of a ship. I mean, it's 3 times bigger than an Omega or a Star Destroyer in terms of mass that's available there.
Yeah, but it's smaller than the Red Dwarf.
It is smaller than a Red Dwarf, yes.
And what did we give the Red Dwarf? I think we gave it an 8.
We gave it an 8, and I'm quite happy pitching for a 7 for size. I mean, Red Dwarf is huge. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I think 7's fair. Yeah, you'll get no argument with me on that one. I'm just going to be interested to see what you're going to do with speed.
Okay, well, with speed.
Thrusters? Thrusters?
No, it's got thrusters, but it is capable of interstellar travel even. It moves between space systems.
Yeah, but how fast?
How fast?
How does it do it?
No,
fast enough of the crew's not dead by the time they get there.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't really tell us much because, as far as I can tell from the 4 episodes I watched today, it basically trundles at about the same sort of speed as, I don't know, a small child roller skating to the shops.
No, look, all I'm saying is this thing, it travels between space systems, between planets, between
There's no mention of any hyperdrive or
There's no mention of any hyperdrive, but it is clearly capable of traveling between space systems. It is not interplanetary. It's not like it can go from the Earth to the Sun. It is capable of leaving the solar system it is in and traveling to other ones. So I'm just going to ask for 5 because don't know what it can do.
It hasn't got...
It's capable.
But it hasn't got hyperdrive, and to be quite honest,
have a 5.
No, it can't have a 5. It can go up as far as 4. It can go as far as 4, which is touching light speed, which I would consider.
Touching cloth. Yeah.
Touching cloth. We are touching cloth. We're
touching cloth.
Put your helmet on.
I would
we'll be
put
reaching
it to you
speeds of
however,
4.
it's capable of going faster than light speed because otherwise, then the crew, the kids, and all this would age traveling between the systems.
But if you were going the speed of light, which is a 4, you can go between planets.
Oh wait, so
minutes.
the speed we're saying I thought 5 was our speed of light cutoff.
No, 5 is actually hyperdrive, as in leaping faster than the speed of light.
Okay,
but it's actually.
Oh, in that case, yeah, I'm happy for 4. All I'm saying is I'm just pitching for speed of light. Not going to argue over whether it can go hyperdrive or anything like that.
No,
it is capable of interplanetary travel. So
4, and I think we're being generous because even though they saying you can trundle the speed of light, you never get a sense that thing is moving at with any kind of urgency whatsoever, at all.
Oh, it's on a nice little jolly, you know. It's just having.
It's as fast as the animators can draw.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. That's it. As fast as they can wheel that background behind them.
Yeah.
That one background and draw the little star.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So now we're on to the firepower, the offense. What were you going to say?
Well, again, the ship itself has no discernible weapons at all. It's got diddly and squat. However, I'm going to ask for 1.
For the ancillary vehicles.
Suddenly,
I see where this is coming from.
You can see where the planet.
Oh,
yeah.
You would giving Red Dwarf a pass just to get yourself a point.
Yes, it's called a tactical maneuver.
Yeah,
but I stand by
done.
it.
Nice.
1 point it is.
Yeah, and what about defense?
Well, defense, it has energy shields.
Aha.
Okay, so
Pretty
that's a
powerful
5.
energy shields.
Yeah.
And it has, it has auto repair systems, but I don't know what we want to say about. Like I said, it's capable of repairing itself as it's being attacked. Not to the extent of something like the Borg, but while the Trident ships are blowing bits and pieces of it off, it's already repairing itself. I'm happy with just a 5 for the shields.
Well, no, I think if it's 5 for energy shields, then you're looking for at least another point for to repair, so that's 6. And I would argue another point for surviving to the end of the series, because I watched the first and the last episode and it was still there. So I think you're selling yourself low there. I think it's 7.
No. Hang on. No, I think a 6 is about as far as I'm willing to go. It repairs itself. That's fine. But if you're suddenly saying all these things, then we've got to go back in time and give Thunderbird 3 a bit more of a boost on the old points front, because it's got cloaking devices and all that stuff you're talking about.
I still want to see evidence of this sodding cloaking device.
It's bloody there. It's in the technical freaking manual.
Chapter and verse, citations.
God's sake.
Okay, so we've had a 5, a 6, and a 7, so a 6 it is then.
I'm happy with a 6 for that, yeah.
Cool.
I mean, like, it's got energy shields, it's got auto repair systems and so forth. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it's got no way of shooting missiles out of the sky or any of that rubbish.
No.
Right, okay. So now we're on to the fun part. Where are we with iconicness? With your big fat eye.
Good luck.
Oh, I see. It was like that. A2, Peter. This was, and I think Peter had this last week with his X-Bomber sort of thing. This was my introduction to spaceships to a large extent.
Look how well that worked.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm not appealing to your better nature and all that, but I mean, I think it is a cool and iconic looking ship. It doesn't look like anything else out there at all, sort of thing. It is unique in that sense. I think it's coming to realization, but I mean, I think it is extremely well realized, and I think the quality of the people responsible, this is the forerunner to the guys who go on and do things like, to Macross and so forth, which, are iconic anime and manga vehicles and all this.
You can't ask for score on the basis of what they did later on.
That's very true.
All I'm saying is, of its own, the Odyssey itself is.
And B, I've never heard of that stuff you talked about them doing later on anyway. So
You've never heard of Macross?
No, it sounds painful, actually.
Robotech? Does that ring any bells?
Oh, no, Robotech I have heard of, but I've no idea what it is.
Oh, well, Robotech, in the same way that Battle of the Planets used to be called Gatchaman, Macross, when it was brought to the US, was changed to Robotech. So,
So what are you hoping for, sir?
For iconicness,
yeah,
I'm hoping for a 6. It's a little bit on the nostalgia I'm playing on here sort of thing, but for me, it was a damn cool looking ship. I still think the design stands out really well today. I think it's really there's nothing else like it in all of sci-fi near as I can tell. It is
apart from the fact it now looks like a stencil cut out for the Enterprise D radar section.
What, the
deflector? It looks like sort of thing you'd use to sort of unscrew the deflector off. Look,
mate, you've got a Fisher-Price rocket coming up. I'd be careful where I was going with this.
I don't care. I'm looking at your total scores so far. I'm feeling safe.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm asking for a 6.
I think 6 is fair, to be honest. I think it's fair because anyone.
Well, it's certainly different. I'll grant you that.
Well, the other thing is,
look, it's unique. You can see the bridge, Peter. There is a sense of place for everything. You know. So what's a 7?
No.
6 it is.
But it's you got a sense of. And a sense of consistency in the place, the shuttle bays are always where the shuttle bays are supposed to be, sort of thing.
Yeah, but in fairness, to use your own argument against you last week, it's a thing that only is iconic for people who ever saw it, ever saw the show. If you just walked up to Joe's blogs in the street and showed them that, would anyone actually be able to tell you where that came from? If it was in a pub quiz with a lot of pictures of spaceships, and they said, pick the one from Ulysses 31, would they find it because they knew it, or find it because they worked all the other ones out first?
I think they'll probably find it because they know it. But we live in different circles.
I think a 6 is kind of about right.
Right.
I'll be honest. Yeah.
I'm happy with a 6. I will take it. Take it like a man.
Take it like a man. Okay. And so finally, realization.
I think this was a really well realized ship, both for the time and still today. The design, a lot of thought went into it. There's a lot of, things are there for a reason. You've got some really cool little features. Again, you've got this big energy drive down in the middle, which is some sort of harmful sort of stuff, so it's got to be kept away from the people. You've got the shuttle bays, as I mentioned, sort of thing. You've got this beautiful kind of the lights, the way they dance around the thing. It very reminiscent of the Enterprise in the motion picture almost, where you have all that self-illumination during the 27 minutes of launching sequence. You've got that sort of sense on the thing. Yeah, and like I said, this was made from some guys who were some of the giants in the anime world and stuff like this. I mean, I don't know anyone who did this from Battle of the Planets, but they go on to do a lot of stuff. This was something which I think is an extremely well realized anime spacecraft.
I mean,
I want a 7.
I would. Hey, okay.
Yeah, I want a 7.
You want a 7?
I want a 7.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, the 2 episodes I watched, it just looked like it was a drawing
painting, yeah,
that they were pushing along the screen. It did not look good at all.
I was going to say the multi-plane stuff is good, but the multi-plane stuff is like select stock shots that they use again and again and again. And
in a manga?
Yes.
Surely not, sir. Surely not.
But in a minute...
Yes, you might want to be careful with that one when it comes to Battle of the Planets as well.
But for what it's worth, the Battle of the Planets was, as we will soon discover, the fiery phoenix, the god phoenix, had a lot more to do and moved a lot more, and you saw it from a lot more angles rather than just static paintings. I
got to say that the reuse of stuff like that sort of thing, that's just a stock trope from not just Ulysses and anime stuff like that. That's just all animation from the 70s and 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even with model shows, the Thunderbird launchers were stock shots. Every single one. They do them to the high standard to once, and they just reuse them over and over.
But in the case of Ulysses 31, that was pretty much every time that the Odyssey was on screen.
Well, I'm pretty sure every time you launch Thunderbird, every single shot of Thunderbird 3, except for when it's doing the rescue bit, was a stock shot. Yeah. Every launch, every climb through everything like that, was just a stock shot.
Well, except for the characters going into the ship, because they would always be dressed differently.
No, they wouldn't, mate.
Yeah, they were.
They wore the same outfit every time they launch, and I'm willing for you to go to YouTube now.
Excuse me. Was it chapter and verse you were saying earlier? Chapter and verse. Come on. No, I mean, I would say, we will undoubtedly come across more animated ships before we throw in the towel on this podcast. Not today, but I'm just saying in the future. And I don't think this was the best example of an animated ship.
Neither do I. So I'm not asking for 10. I'm asking for 7.
I don't think it's a 7. I'd give you a 6, but I wouldn't give you a 7. I'd give you a 6 because there are still things about it that are really nicely done. But when 90% of it is actually a still static painting, it's not even animated. That's the key. That's why.
Well, again, bits of it were animated. Again, you have the irises opening, the shuttle bays, and things like that. In one of the episodes where it's involved in a collision with another crystal ship, sort of thing, and the other ship has to pull away. As it's pulling away, it's causing damage, and it's kind of tearing bits off of it.
Yeah,
there's episodes in there where it's animated. Again, this is a show where not everything is always set on the ship. The primary focus was, Ulysses and his kids fucking off down to a planet to screw with the gods and all this. But when they were on the ship, and there's 2 or 3 episodes where, the focus was on it. There's one where they're under attack by a ton of moths. Don't ask me why, but they're under attack by moths. There's one where, again, they collide with this crystalline ship, and, the focus is on there. There's one where the crew mutinies, and they're under attack by all these tridents and all this, and they have to keep launching the shuttles and all this. In these instances, they do a lot more work animating the ship and doing different things. There's a great scene where they've had to replace the iris. So they've forged this new kind of thing.
Eye patch.
More like
glass
a contact
eye.
lens, in all honesty. It was a contact. It was a contact lens. But they forged a new contact lens sort of thing, and these robots have to bring it all outside sort of thing and position it up in front of it so that the eyelids and all that can open up sort of thing and harness all the energy kind of going in the middle.
Okay.
I think it's really well realised.
If Lee is saying 6, I was probably airing lower than that, so 6 it is, I think.
Yeah.
You do me a disservice, sir, but I will take it nonetheless.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a 6 because, because I know what's coming up, and I'm going to picture a 7 on mine, and
You
mine.
can pitch all you want, mate. It ain't happening now.
I'll tell you.
You might have had a chance. You might have had a chance, but no, sir.
No, I'm telling you, because.
In fact, I'm going to question your eligibility.
Well. Is my reasoned argument.
Touche.
How about you, sir?
Well played, Mr. Medcard. Anyway, let me get the old abacus out. Let's see where we are with this. Anyway, so carry the 7.
I've already totted it up.
Okay, that comes to 4,726,049.
Minus.
Oh wait, no, wait. I had it upside
Enough
down.
money.
30. There you go.
30 quatlus.
Oh God, he's still on about the quatloos. Okay.
Well, we allowed him for this one.
Yeah, I know. God, fucking quatloos.
And it's less than 31, so I'm really happy.
Yeah, this is where the axes come out now. This is it now.
Oh, no, never mind the axes, mate. I got me lightsaber pistol for you, mate.
With your silly little shield on it.
There's Mr. Lucas is knocking at the door here. He wants words.
Yeah, he probably wants his fucking money back, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I guess it's my turn, is it?
Yep.
Oh yes.
Okay. Well, get ready to cue the theme tune, because this is the second really good theme tune for tonight.
Oh, I
You
suppose
going
that's the
with
question. Which one do you want? Yeah.
Yeah, English or Japanese?
Yeah, it's important.
No,
distinction here.
no, excuse me. I think there is only one theme for GeForce Battle of the Planets. I'm sorry. You just have to do it.
But the Japanese one is funnier.
The Japanese one is funnier. And if I were to listen to this podcast and find that the Japanese one is on here, I will be less than impressed.
Heads will roll.
So, yes, I have brought the Fiery Phoenix, or the Phoenix, from Battle of the Planets, aka Gatchaman, or if you want to give it its full title, Ninja Science Team Gatchaman. The ship, well, basically, it's a huge, big blue and red bird. Let's be honest. It's a ship that is able to reach Mach 5 in the air, 40 knots underwater, because it can fly it can travel underwater. And
Didn't we have a discussion about we don't like underwater ships?
Yeah, we don't generally, but this one does at least close all its vents and give an impression.
Okay.
that
yeah,
it's doing
it does
its best
actually
to be underwater.
exactly, and it can fly obviously in space. It's not the fastest ship in the world, but we'll get to that later. It's basically it was a ship that first appeared in the first episode of Ninja Team Gatchaman. It's currently known as a G5 Phoenix, and it has a number of interesting things. It has afterburners, it has Votol ability for when it's on the ground and in sort of like general flying around.
Vertical takeoff.
That's right, indeed. The ship also has an interesting array of weaponry. It has the bird missiles, which it has. Yeah, it's all bird themed.
Which they always run out of. That's
Yeah.
the funny thing.
Well,
Is, whatever the thing is, that they've never got enough bird missiles for, so they have to then go and the next one up.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it has a couple of things. It has the bird missiles. It has 30 of those, and each one of those missiles is said to be able to level a city with a single shot. The Superbird missiles are armor-piercing versions for ship-to-ship fighting, and they are twice the strength. Again, it has about 30 of those. Then, on top of that, it has the ninja. Well, in the Japanese original, it's referred to as the Science Ninja Technique Firebird. I'm not going to say it in Japanese because it's just I will just fall over
go
my
on.
own tongue.
I murdered some Japanese earlier.
Okay.
Have a go.
Kagaku.
Kajagugu?
No,
Kajagugu?
They
were great in the 80s.
Yeah, Kagagu Ninpo Hintori, which is basically...
That's the title of this episode.
Yeah, there you go. That's the title sorted. And it's a special move that the Phoenix can do, where basically it moves at super high speeds and heats up to the point where actually the exterior bursts into flames as it moves through the atmosphere, forming the shape of a giant flaming bird. Anything in its way is immediately vaporized, and anything behind it is immediately vaporized. The ship also suffers a massive amount of damage, so it's not something that they can do all the time.
And the crew
It's
are a risk, aren't
It's a
they?
very Klingon sort of thing. Perhaps today is a good day to die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Flaming bird speed.
Exactly. It's a ship that has a lot of. It's a definitely last ditch weapon. Because
Which is used multiple times.
It
well,
is, yes.
yeah, it is used multiple times. That's your typical sort of anime thing,
Yeah.
We have to ramp it up every time. The other thing which it gained through Battle of the Planets was a fire beam, which was a laser beam that the whole thing could use as they refer to it, as a super blowtorch. It would.
I honestly thought you were going a different way with that.
Yeah, there you go. It was occasionally flaunted. It was a solar-powered energy blaster weapon. Although the team would occasionally have the misfortune of choosing to use it on cloudy days. So the the laser weapon would basically run out of charge.
Bloody typical. You couldn't get a signal, could you?
No, exactly. There you go. So the ship itself, piloted by, now let's do the American versions, Mark, Tiny, Keop, Princess, Jason, and watching over them from Centre Neptune, 7's Arc 7.
But now you've lost a point just by mentioning it.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to mention One Rover 1 either. But but basically, the Gatchaman, the G-Force of the title, they basically all had their own ships embedded into it, which made the Phoenix up. Tiny was the nominal pilot, but it also had Keop's Space Bubble, which is an all-terrain tank vehicle, which was also capable of flying and submersing. We had Jason's racing car, and then we had Mark's fighter jet, which would lock into the back and form the rear of the ship, and then Princess's Galacticycle, for whatever that meant, and each one of the vehicles themselves had their own set of weapons. In the case of some, there was missiles. In the Galacticycle, there was a machine gun on the jet, and some heat-seeking missiles on the jet. There was also rockets on the space bubble. So it was fairly heavily armed for a ship that was essentially supposed to be a plane. It could go into space, it could travel between planets, and it often did, to fight the forces of, let's just say there's a number of different ways of naming this guy, but, Zoltar, we'll call him Zoltar because she, gender denomination unknown. Basically, they, that was it. They were, but that person sort of would sit outside of certain, outside of the orbit of the moon, and would be out past Mars in most cases, and they would often go to fight him unless he came down to see them instead. The speed it could do it was bit and ah about that, how fast it got between planets. It was very much a manga. It gets where it gets to as fast as it needs to get.
Small sidebar, my lord.
Yes.
So little bit of thing I came across. It could only do the in between planet things in Battle of the Planets. In Gatchaman, it never left Earth.
Well,
the scenes where it was going to other planets, where they wanted to make it a bit more Star Warsy, from what I gather.
Yeah.
Well,
so they basically said, well, what we'll do is we'll just draw a load of stuff of it traveling through space, and then it's on all these Earth-like planets doing the same stuff it did on the Gatchaman thing.
Well, in Gatchaman, yes, it would fly, wouldn't leave the planets, and that was in 1972. But by the time it got to Battle of the Planet, in Gatchaman it was 1972. By the time it got to Battle of the Planets, which, if my memory serves me correctly, came out sometime in about 1980 something, 3, 4, I guess, possibly even later than that. It had full space capabilities, and then in the later movies, because there were actual movies, like the OVA version, and the version which was Gatchaman 2, it was fully capable of going between planets without so much as a sniff. But again, the speed at which it did it, it was one of those, it goes as fast as it needs to.
Plot dependent.
Dependent. Very much like the X-Bomber. So there you go. Battle of the Planets itself was created by, in God knows when. It was created in 1970 something. Hold on, let me get it. 1972. It was actually created by anime pioneer studio Tatsunoko Productions. And
78 was Battle of the Planet's original release.
Yes, but Ninja Team Gatchaman's 72.
Mm.
And the guy who designed the Phoenix was also the guy who designed the whole thing, Tatsuo Yoshida. Thank goodness for that, I got that name right. He would also go on to do things like Kashan, which you may or may not know. He also worked on a number of other versions of Kashan. He also did another thing called Tekkaman the Space Knight. And he died in 77 before. He was also one of the creators of Macross, believe it or not, and Robotech.
Little crossover.
It
all comes together.
See how it comes together. Yeah, but as far as it goes, the Fiery Phoenix was a very cool spaceship. It had a heat temperature resistance of 3,000 degrees Celsius. And its engines were able to, as you said before, go underwater. It was able to go into space. It was able to go through the air. It's probably one of the most versatile ships out of the lot, to be honest. So, shall we get on doing this thing?
Rated.
Let's do it.
Do it now.
Okay, right. Well, I'm gonna be sensible here. I don't think I'm gonna fight for a massive score on size.
Sensible.
To be quite honest, it was basically the size of a jumbo jet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how we're going to rate that, because it has to fit a smaller fighter jet, a tank, a bike, and a racing car and a nose cone. So it's got to be at least sort of. I don't know.
So far we've got 1 to 2 is one-man fighters, so we've got more than that clearly.
Thunderbird 3 pulled in 3 last time around on size.
I think you could be talking a low 3. I wouldn't want to go much higher than that, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to say.
Yeah.
Have your 3.
Oh, cheers. How very magnanimous of you.
You can have it 2 if you want.
No, that's fine.
3 Quataloos.
3 Quataloos. Now, speed is a bit more
difficult.
We can't really work it out. Strictly speaking, at some point, to make the Fiery Phoenix work, it has to go so fast it sets fire to the air. So
technically, and again, putting on my geeky nerd hat, that's pretty much Mach 8.
Sets fire to the air.
Yeah. They're doing tests with hypersonic aircraft, little droney things, which they launch with a rocket from B-52s, and then they accelerate, and the air around them gets so hot it ignites, and then they crash. They haven't fixed that bit yet.
Yeah, but you're talking about a small glow. I'm talking about something that turns something that looks like a jet into something that actually looks like a bird on fire.
Yeah, I don't think I can quite quantify that in real life physics. That's going to be a bit of a stretch for me.
And flying between planets is, as I said before, with the X-Bomber, it's just as fast as the plot needs it to be. So,
but they never talk about hyperspace or anything like that.
No,
it's going to have a 4 then, I guess.
I think a 4 is probably where we're aiming for. On
Although, again, just as a small sidebar here, and I know we always said episode 0 was something we would have to deal with later on. We gave Thunderbird 3 a 3 last time around.
Yeah, I think Thunderbird 3 would have to be a 2 at this point.
But that's again, episode 0 was a work in progress, but still.
Yeah. Well, we're starting from here, really.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now, for firepower and defense, now we're into a different kettle of fish now, because this thing is carrying 30 city-leveling missiles, and then 30 more that are twice the power. So that's just the rockets. That's before we get to the laser beam, before we get to the Fiery Phoenix, which just vaporizes everything in front and behind, and before we get to sort of like the solar powered laser beam thing. So I'm gonna ask for at least a 6 on
I'll
offense.
go with a 6.
I'm happy with a 6. Yeah, I mean it's got the city leveling missiles and you know.
The only downside is they do run out quite quickly, but yeah.
Yeah, but
again, it's not about how much it can carry. It's the fact it has the capability. It's a bit like with the Death Star. It could destroy a planet once a day.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but you know, in theory, this thing could actually do a lot more damage to a Death Star than, say, an X-wing, because it's those Superbird missiles, the TXRs, or the TXR missiles, could basically pierce through. They would actually drill through armor before detonating at twice the volume of the first one, which could blow a hole in the city.
Our Death Star is impervious. It's only a small thermal exhaust pod. Nothing to worry about.
But if you take something that's like a massive rocket-powered drill with a tactical nuke in it, I think you might have a bit of a problem.
Not on the Death Star. I'm not arguing the fact that these are cool missiles. I'm just saying on the Death Star. Yeah,
we'll see. So for defense, obviously, the Fiery Phoenix was as much a defense as offense, because you can escape and still leave a massive trail of shit in their wake. And
are we calling that a shield?
I wouldn't call it a shield, because you can still shoot it down. But I mean,
so you're looking at a 4 then.
But in theory, you could, not shoot it. Because, I mean, I know that it was getting attacked. In Gatchaman, it gets attacked by Zoltan, or Galactor, as he's known in the Gatchaman series. And as they're actually Fiery Phoenixing away, he's shooting at it, and the bullets are basically melting on the Phoenix arc.
But, yeah. Well, what are you asking for, sir? What are you pitching at?
I'm definitely pitching for a 6.
Ooh. Yeah, because I'm not going to go as 6 for it. I'd give you a 5 in that sounds kind of shield-ish. It's not repelling, but it's doing something to prevent them. But
it's actually melting missiles and bombs before it gets there.
Yeah, and shields are just knocking them out of the way or preventing. There's multiple ways shields could work. You know, something like the Enterprise is just absorbing the energy before it gets to you.
Okay, well, I'll take a 5. I'll take a 5
Cool.
if that's what you're willing to offer.
You'll take a 5 and you'll like it, sir.
Nice. Now, for iconicness, well, I mean, come on. If we're into what do we give the Odyssey?
You gave it a 6 under protest.
Yeah. See, now I would say you could argue a 6 to 7 using the same arguments, because you can't miss something that's a bright blue and red jet from Battle of the Planets.
I think they said in the Early Learning Centre, don't they? The Fisher-Price My First Rocket?
Yeah, it's right beside that ball, except someone's put an elastic band around it. Oh, that's the Odyssey. So, yeah, I mean, no, I'm sorry, but the Phoenix, even when it turns into the bloody Phoenix itself, I mean, that's pretty...
When it's the Phoenix, yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool, you know, it's a cool effect and all this sort of thing, but the ship itself... Yeah. It's as generic as they come.
No, it's not as generic as they come. It's a really cool looking fighter craft that's, you know, it's like, do you remember when Top Gear, what am I talking about? Top Gun came out.
Yes.
And everyone suddenly thought the Tomcat was really cool plane.
Yes.
Why did they think it was a really cool plane? Because it had those swing wings and it had those big air intakes on either side, and it looked all hunkered down. This is a super version of that. The God Phoenix is basically an F-14. I'm not the plane man, but it's a big super duper F-14 with science fiction-y wings and propellers and shit on all over it,
I think this is, and all three of us have now had this. You know, Peter with his X-Bomb, and me with the Odyssey, and you with this. It's the nostalgia goggles come into play here, because I never watched Battle of the Planets growing up. That was it either wasn't on or it just wasn't available or anything like this. So
it explains a lot.
It does, doesn't it? But so yeah. I mean, I'm only really coming to this shit really this week. Doing some research for this sort of thing, and yeah, it just looks like it just, for me, there's versions of it which look cool, which
the OVA version, which is
things like that look really cool. I like that a lot, you know.
Yeah, the stealth bomber version. sort of
Yeah,
more
that's
angular.
my point. That's my
Yeah.
point. These versions, the OVA version, and that kind of uprated sort of one, with those, that looks cool for me. And, absolutely, I'd be like, fuck, yeah, that's fucking cool sort of thing. But the standard one, and it's not necessarily the ship's fault, it's just from that era, but it just looks,
Well,
I don't want to say boring,
because you'd be wrong.
but I'm going to say, and they didn't, I mean, again, and I'm only going off of what I've read on here. I mean, they destroy it halfway through and bring it with something new. And what they bring it in was something completely different with like a big eagle head on the front.
Yeah,
And like
look like that bird ship from the second season of Buck Rogers.
yes, it does.
It's bloody awful.
Yeah.
God Phoenix 2 was so bad that actually the Japanese decided that they didn't want it, and they got rid of it and brought the old one back, even though it apparently had been blown up in episode 47.
So you're asking for what, 6?
Yeah. What do you think?
What do you say, Pete?
Well, I do have a great fondness for this.
Thank you.
As well. So Leah's chosen wisely here. So
Okay, well,
he's going
I'm
for a
going to
6.
lose. I'm going to lose again in that argument. So far,
Yeah.
with 6, I'm happy to give you that.
A 6. Okay. So, now, realization. Now, here we are, right? We got 2 problems here. Firstly, what do we set the Odyssey at?
Never mind, mate. You fight your own battles.
No, I'm just saying, because what I'm saying here is the Odyssey was made. This is the same thing as the X-Bomber and Thunderbird 3.
Mm-hmm.
You see, what you've got is the Odyssey, and it's in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
We've got
81.
80. Okay, doesn't matter really, because we're looking at a ship that was designed and animated in 1972.
Yes.
See, and I would argue that the animation and the realization of the Phoenix in 1972 is as good as, if not better than, the Odyssey, because it actually animates, it moves around. The animation of the Fiery Phoenix itself is really well done. The whole docking sequence is pure anime, just loveliness of things going into things and all locking together and well animated and designed, and they actually work. And even things like putting thought into the fact that they've got air vents that they have to close before they go underwater or go into space.
And you can see where the bridge is.
So I'm plonking for a 7 on this.
Well, the problem I have here is I've not really watched it. I've watched 2 episodes you sent across. One was a Gatchaman episode and one was a Battle of the Planets episode.
Which was the same episode, just to show you the
differences. It was with
different
sequences in there and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's pure 1970s anime.
It's late 60s, because the thing is, bear in mind, they had to make 4 or 5 episodes before this thing even came out. We weren't in the era of flash animation. We were in the era of cell-drawn animation. We're in a completely different era to CGI, whizzy-bang whatsits and flashing lights through pieces of film and painting, matte painting. This thing was drawn frame by frame.
I mean, the thing is, I'll take what you say about it being the late 60s. That's fine. But then later on, when they've gone to revisit this with uprated graphics, effects, or whatever you want, with Thunderbird 3, as we saw, they fundamentally keep it the same. It's a few more whizzy bang things and stuff like that. But when they've come to this to redo it in that OVA shot sort of thing, all they've pretty much kept are the color schemes. They basically said, yeah, this is what we could do in the 60s, but now we can do what we want. This is how we want it to be.
No. You're not pulling that old rubbish on me. That's the same as, okay, so if they remade Ulysses 31 now, and then they changed the Odyssey even slightly and gave it all rockets and weapons, are we supposed to suddenly assume that the old one that you put up was rubbish?
No, I'm saying is, I'm not making that argument at all. All I'm trying to say is, what was realised in the 60s, I don't think just saying, oh, it was the best they could do in the 60s carries the water. I don't think you can say...
I'm not saying it's the best they can do in the 60s. I'm saying that the technical requirements of the 60s and the era required it to do something that was, that was actually skillfully realised. I'm saying that you can't do multi-plane animation back in the 60s and
Yes,
early
you can.
and early 70s. I'm saying you can't do it on a budget. You can't do it.
They did it in the Superman cartoon in the 1930s.
Yeah, the Fleischer ones, when Warner Brothers were chucking shit tons of money at it for cinema. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about a cheap weekly knockoff series, and now
What? Gatcham?
yeah,
That's not a knockoff series.
it was not an expensive series, my friend. It was a cheap animated series as a response to the American superhero craze that was going on at the time.
When you're shooting your realization argument in the book by saying it's cheap.
I'm not saying it's but the point is it doesn't matter how much it costs. I'm saying that what I'm saying is the skill that required to make that go and make that thing as it was and animate it in the way that it was animated was a lot higher in the 70s than it needed to be, than was applied to something like the Odyssey or even something like the X-Bomber, just to make that look as good as it did.
Just bear in mind, realization for the X-Bomber was 3.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot look at this with anything but someone looking back at something from 30 years. I didn't grow up with this. I'm just looking at it from what I've seen of this, and yeah, I for me it just looks dated. And I'm not saying that that's
of course it looks dated.
Yeah, but but because I'm not just saying it's dated because the animation dated. I'm just saying I think the design. I just think I think there's better stuff that could have been done, sort of thing. I think the ship itself for me it's boring. It just looks.
Yeah, but we're talking about realization. We're not talking about iconicness. We're talking about how it was actually executed.
Yeah, but even how it's realized, sort of thing. It just looks. It's very basic in how it's been realized, sort of thing. It's very simple, which feeds back into what you're saying before. It's on a low budget; they can only do so much with it, and I think that affects its realization.
I mean, it does suffer a bit from exactly the same as the Odyssey. They reuse a lot of the animation.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm asking for a low 7. I'm not asking for someone to go, oh, yeah, without question, 7. I understand it's going to be something I have to fight for, but I'm saying that it's like going 10 years in animation and animation technology. You're actually talking about 15 to 20 years when you're talking about difference between Ulysses 31 and Gatchaman.
So what did we give the Odyssey in the end for?
I gave it 6 in the end.
Gave it 6. So that's what I'm saying.
I think 6 is fair.
6 is fair, is it?
Yeah.
I would say 4, but if you're happy with 6, I'll give it a 6.
Yeah, but you're saying 4 because you're looking back on it and there's a 50-year gap between what you're looking at.
We've just gone from 5 to 10 to 15 to 50-year gap.
Well, how do you expect... Hold on. How do you expect to go from 2016 to 1972?
Oh, between now and then. I thought you were talking about between the two series.
No. No.
I was going to say, it was not 50 years between the two, my friend.
Div. So no, I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that you're looking over the distance. You're looking backwards over the distance of nearly 50 years, and going, the animation's not quite all that. It's like,
Actually, I've just thought of a series around the same period, which, for my money, was better animation.
Go on.
And that was Space Battleship Yamato. That was what, mid-70s?
Battleship Yamato.
Yeah, a Star Blazers, as it was over here.
Star Blazers on. Well, hold on. Star Blazers. I thought that was a lot later.
I think that's mid-70s. As in Space the same sort of thing, It was Space Battleship Yamato, and then it was redone as Star Blazers over here. That was 74, that was.
1974.
And that there...
Well, actually, the original release was 1979. It was in Japan, and it was released over here in December 1984.
How?
77.
No, I'm looking at Wikipedia, and as we know, Wikipedia is never wrong.
Yeah.
Original run, October 6th, 1974 to March the 30th, 1975. 26
Are
episodes.
you looking at that? Star Blazers.
Yeah, but Space Battleship Yamato
Are you
was
looking?
the...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is otherwise
74.
Space Battleship Yamato.
Space Battleship Yamato... Star Blazers is to Space Battleship Yamato what Battle of the Planets is to Gatchaman.
I understand. But you're still talking about... Hold on. There was 77 episodes of this thing. There was only 47. There was only 47.
The original run was 26 episodes. That original series. That was better realised, better animation.
Hold on. Yeah. Space Battleship Yamato 1, which was released in 1974. Space Battleship Yamato 2, which was released in 1978. And Space Battleship Yamato 3, which was in 1980. That's what Star Blazers was made up of. So you're talking about... You're basically looking at 3 completely different series over the course of nearly 6 years and rolling them all together.
An anime series made in the middle 70s, same time as Gatchaman, better realised and better animation. That's what I'm trying to say.
It came out 2 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's not quibble.
6 it is, folks. Let's move on.
Okay, 6 it is. Which gives us an interesting problem.
Oh, we got a draw.
I think we do.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a draw. I don't think it's a draw for me. I think it's a draw between you two, which means I'm out anyway.
No.
Oh, well,
I think wasn't Red Dwarfs 31?
Yeah.
Then the Odyssey
The
got
eyeball
30.
was 30.
And
Yeah.
I think didn't the Phoenix get 30?
No, Phoenix has got 31, I think. Oh no, it's 30. Oh well, there we go.
Oh no.
This is interesting, isn't it?
So the bottom end of the scale is the one that. So which one is getting cast out?
There's only one thing for this.
Yeah.
You and me in the circle now. How many Quatloos of a newcomer, Peter?
Yeah. You need your giant cotton buds to fight it out.
Well,
Cue the Death March music. We can't even rock, paper, scissors this, can we?
okay. Hold on.
Ooh.
Interestingly enough, they both scored the same as the X one we did last time out.
Yeah. Don't
I mean, we could knock them both out, and then it just leaves let's roll over to the next episode to episode 11 to finish filling the top 10,
Yeah. Okay.
and then neither of us get what we want.
Carl, that's the burning bridges method, is it?
That's napalm in the jungle, yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I think. Oh man.
You do it on the catchiest theme tune.
Well, we could do it on least annoying robot.
Oh, that's a close one, actually.
No, I think if it calls a draw, I think we've got a, especially if it's a low scored draw.
Yeah.
Then we've got to just say, look, that's got to go. Yeah, unfortunately.
To the pit with you!
Yes, to the
Mortals, you defy the gods?
yeah.
As punishment, you must rest outside the top 10.
Yes. I think that seems the only fair thing.
I think it is the only fair thing because it's the only thing we can decide on. Because otherwise we're down to which crew member can I wank over, and there's absolutely no one.
That's probably not a good method, really, is it?
I'm still recording all of this, by the way. Okay, so so they both got 30, and so it's a draw.
Yeah, it's a draw. We've actually
One
tied.
episode in, we've broken it already.
We've tied with the X-Bomber.
Basically, I think what we're going to have to do is going to have to put both of them on the sidelines, out of the board, out of the cool wall, until such time as we can pull all the almost strands back in for one special.
We will at some point do the big the pool. All the ones that couldn't quite make it have a big massive brawl, and see who survives the pit, the cage fight.
Yes, exactly. So interestingly, we've only got 4 things on our cool wall now.
Well, no, 3 things.
No,
3 things.
4. Oh, 3. Yeah, we got 3. Yeah, that's right. Yes. We got 3 things on our call wall now instead of 4, which we should have had. So, would you, Andy, like to tell the listeners what the scoreboards stand like now?
Okay, at present, in at number 1 is the Omega-class destroyer with 36. At number 2, Thunderbird 3 with 32. That's confusing. Then we have Red Dwarf with 31.
Mm-hmm.
And in our also run pile, all tying with 30, we have the X-Bomber, the Odyssey, and the God Phoenix.
There's a theme there, isn't there?
I was going to say.
Yeah.
And
all Japanese animation.
I think we should probably do something a bit more Americanized next time around.
Indeed. Okay, so that's our scoreboard as it stands for this week. So, let's move on. Rather disappointing ending, really. But
It kind of, all that build up and then, it was just out of mind. Much like Ulysses, 26 episodes, and at the end, it's just like, okay, you can go home now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Magic escalator and your own.
Yeah. See, if you'd just given me 7 for the realization, we'd have all these problems sorted out.
If you'd have just let me give you 5 for the realization, it would have been fine.
Oh, no. Over Princess's dead body.
Queensbury Rule, sir. Have at you.
Yes. Anyway, so what's up for next time, chaps? Who's bringing what to the party?
Okay, so I'm going to bring the Battlestar Pegasus from the reimagining of Battlestar Galactica.
Oof, nice.
Yes. The Beast.
What are you bringing, Pete?
I shall be bringing the USS Defiant from Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Aha.
Tough little ship.
Exactly. And I shall be bringing the White Star from Babylon 5.
Ooh, interesting.
Stir the fanboy pot.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
if anything's going to get us angry letters, it's that one.
I was going to say, this is going to get ugly, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the one where the cast goes off the air after 2 episodes.
The role of Reverend Peter Organ will be played by me next week.
So, there you go. So, it will be the Pegasus, the Defiant, and the White Star in the next episode. Do join us again for that. You can also find us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/groups/spacedocjury. And
it's got the cool wall upon it as well,
Yes.
so you can see how the different spaceships have scored.
Lots of pictures of the ships as well. I find them and post them. And, if you
Yep.
see something you like, stick it on the wall.
Yes, and if you want to
I suspect there'll be lots of pictures of the princess going up sometime soon.
and if you want to get involved in the discussions, obviously post up there and argue away, argue your points. Were we right? Were we wrong? Throw them all in there. And also we will have our subdomain on the Geek Planet Online, which you can come and visit, which is spacedoc.geekplanetonline.com. So it just leaves me to say goodbye to you all. Thank you very much for listening. And it's a goodbye from me.
Cheer bye.
TTFN.
And we'll see you all next time. Till then, tatty bye.
Bye.
Space Doc Jury is a production by 3 Angry Beards for GeekPlanetOnline.com.